Good morning and welcome to Mansfield's Daylilies, Gardening with Daylilies and more. Today we're going to talk about the parts of a daylily flower and plant. What you're looking at here are the petals. I've deconstructed a flower so you can see the parts and pieces. These are petals, and over here beside it we have sepals. Now if we were to put this flower back together, we would have an arrangement of three. One, two, three. The sepals are on the back, and then the petals would go in between each one of these sepals. One, two, and three. I'll put that back together just so you can get some idea of what this flower looked like. So there you have it. Three sepals, three petals. This is a typical daylily. Some have more petals and sepals than that. And when they do have more than three, they're called polymeris. Cool name. Also, I want you to note that sepals can have patterns on them, different colors on them, as well as the petals. Petals can have ruffled edges. Sepals can have ruffled edges. They can be smooth edged. They can have toothy edges. They can have all kinds of really neat shapes and colors. The next part that we want to talk about is the reproductive parts of the daylilies. So over here I have taken apart what I call the boy parts of the flowers, the anthers and filaments, which make up the stamen. So what part is the anther? The anther is the part that holds the pollen. That tip in there, you can see the pollen has begun to open on these. And then the stick part that holds the anther is called the filament. And the filament and the anther together equals a stamen. So for the girl parts, we start with a style and stigma. Stigma is the tip. That's the part that you put the pollen on, and then it gets absorbed into the stigma, and it travels down the style, the stick part, all the way down to the ovary. Sorry about that. Which is in this part of the flower. I cut it in half so you could see inside. The ovary is where the seeds are formed, and they'll swell up after it's been pollinated, and this is where the bud will be. And you can see perhaps that there are three parts inside to that ovary. They correspond with the petals, which is kind of cool. So three petals, three sepals, three sections to the ovary. There we go. And that's where the seeds will come from. So stigma, style, and ovary forms the pistil, or the female part of the flower, the girl parts. So let's look at that again. Boy parts are the stamen, which is made up of the anther and the filament, and then the pistil being the female part, and that's made up of the stigma, the style, and the ovary. Now let's look real quick at a daylily scape that this daylily came off of, and isn't that a big one? Okay, so what is a scape? The whole thing here is a flower scape. The whole thing is called a flower scape. And then it has branches. And this one's got wonderful wide space branching. So we've got branch number 1, branch number 2, branch number 3, branch number 4, and at the very top we have what's called a terminal V. Can you see that's in the shape of a V up there? And that counts as 2 more. So this one has 6 branches. Cool. And I've already counted the buds that are on here, and they're between the bud scars and the buds that are showing, this has 38. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about this. This is a seedling that was given to me from Linda Pinkham. She doesn't particularly care for the flower, and it's not a really pretty, not one of those flowers that you're going to go gaga over. But the branching on this, and the height on this, and the scapes on this are so phenomenal that this plant is worth using in hybridizing to try to get some of those traits and find a really wow flower somewhere out there in hybridizing land, somebody's going to make something really nice out of this. So, let's go back to the idea of the buds. There you can see a bud, and look what's sticking out of that. What is that? Oh, that's a style and stigma. You can actually put pollen on that even before the bud opens. Some flowers have to be pollinated this way to get them to set a bud. And there's one, two, there's actually 3 buds that'll open tomorrow on this scape that have got the style and stigma sticking out. How about that? Cool. There's a spent bud from yesterday. So, hope you've enjoyed our little tutorial on the parts and pieces of a daylily flower and the daylily scape. Hope you'll tune in next week on Thursday to Mansfield's Daylilies and learn a little bit more about daylilies. Until then, thanks guys. See you later. Bye.